All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is your Autodesk Inventor video tutorial number 4. So let's open up Inventor. Remember not to click anything else while it's loading. You'll just confuse your computer. Close the pop-up window. And we're going to start a new file. So instead of opening our sample project 1, we're going to start a new part. So a part is a standard IPT. It tells you over here it's a standard part file. And we're going to click on Create. When it opens, remember we need to click on Create a 2D sketch. So every time you make a new part, you need to click on Create a 2D sketch. Do you remember which axis to pick? The XY axis. If you leave your mouse there before you click, you can wait and see that it tells you it's the XY plane. Now that we're into our sketch, we can see in our browser that we have sketch 1. We're in our sketch ribbon, so we have lots of tools up here. We have our tools over here and our view cube. Let's start with a rectangle. We're going to start every project with a rectangle so that we know kind of what size we're working on. Always start your sketches with a rectangle. Right click, OK, because we're done with the rectangle now, and let's dimension it. Let's dimension this rectangle to be 7 by 7. So right now it's only 1.3 inches. Let's make it 7. Green check. Now that we've dimensioned that rectangle to be 7, we need to zoom back out so we can find it. There. And now let's dimension the height to be 7. Instead of 4.2, we're going to make it 7. Click your green check. And let's use our magnifying glass to recenter our rectangle. Now, I want to build something that I can make a hole in. So I'm going to do something really simple. I'm just going to make another rectangle in here. And that's it. So I'm going to leave this rectangle. What the heck, let's fillet the edges just to practice filleting. Remember, 0.125 is a really small fillet. So let's do like 0.4, I think is what we did last time. So let's do a 0.4 fillet. Click, 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 click. Make sure you guys are clicking on both edges of the rectangle where we want that fillet to show up. Okay, so now we have a nice rounded rectangle. Let's close our fillet tool and let's finish our sketch. Now remember, it zooms us out again so we can, or it zooms us in, so we can always hit the magnifying glass and zoom back out and see our sketch. Let's save our work before we get too far. Go to the eye, go to Save As, make sure you're in your user drive, call this sample part 2. Let's save sample part number 2. And now I'm ready to work with my 3D modeling tools. So let's turn my sketch around to the front. And I'm going to use the red rolling ball on my mouse to zoom in. I'm going to extrude my rounded rectangle. Notice how I can extrude the outline, or I can extrude the rectangle. So let's extrude our rectangle. Instead of 1 inch, let's make it 0.75, 3/4 of an inch. Green check. OK. Now if I take my view cube, I can kind of pull this around and see I have a 7 by 7 inch rectangle that has been extruded 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to hit my home cube, or my home view, and now I'm going to turn it around to the front so I can see the front face of my rectangle. I'm going to zoom it in, and I'm going to make a couple holes in here. Your whole menu can be a little bit tricky, so I'm going to show you a couple things about holes. We're going to put a hole on a face. Now it's going to ask you a couple things. Termination means how far do you want this hole to go? Do you want it to go all the way through that rectangle? Or do you want it to only go a certain distance? We're going to go ahead and put this all the way through the rectangle. Now, if I wanted to make a change to that hole, over here in my browser, notice that I have a hole underneath my extrusion. If I click on the plus sign by my extrusion, I can see my sketch, and it'll show me my whole sketch, which was that first big rectangle and the little rectangle inside and all the fillets. And if I hover over my hole icon over here, it'll highlight this hole and show me hole 1 is this hole. I can open it up and make changes. Now let's say I want to make the hole bigger, because right now it's only 1/4 of an inch, 0.25 wide. That's the diameter. So if I want to change the diameter and make it, let's say, 0.5, see my hole get bigger? I can also locate it. If I want to use 2 reference points, I can locate this hole a certain distance from the side. See, right now it's 0.6. Let's move it in and make it 1 inch from the side. Let's also move it down a little bit. I can use 2 reference points. So let's locate it from this top side. And instead of 0.7, let's make it a whole inch. So now this hole is exactly 1 inch from the left side and 1 inch from the top. It's 0.5 inches in diameter, and it goes through the whole rectangle. Let's add another hole on this side to kind of duplicate that hole. So I'm going to click on my hole tool. I'm going to kind of place my hole where I think it should go. I'm going to change the diameter. Instead of 0.25, I'm going to make it 0.5. Notice how my diameter also changes over here, so you can change it in either place. The green check will we need to use the references. So I'm going to reference it 1 inch from the side. And I'm going to do my second reference to make that hole 1 inch from the top. And now those 2 holes are much more even. The extrusion was this whole face. Okay, well, let's not worry about the mouth. So let's just delete the mouth. What I can do to delete the mouth is from Sketch 1. I can right-click, delete, right-click, delete. Okay, it was a good idea, but that's just a little bit more complicated than we want to get right now. So let's finish the sketch. I'm going to use my hand to recenter this ghost. Right-click, OK, because I'm done with my hand. What I could do is I could make a couple different holes in the shape of a mouth, so we could make it like a smiley face ghost. So let's make a couple different holes and see how it's remembering my 0.5 hole. So I could line these holes up to overlap, and I could make a mouth for my ghost this way. It's not quite as much fun, and it's a lot more work, truthfully. But it might be a little bit more simple. So let's keep adding some holes until the mouth looks how we want it to look. There are easier ways to do this, okay? But for now, we're just practicing our hole tool. So let's keep adding holes. Make our mouth a little bit scary. Keep it overlapping so that our mouth becomes And as you go down the list of holes, it will show you exactly where each hole is. So if you wanted to make changes to a hole, this is how you would do it. And now let's go ahead and play with the color. So let's find a spooky ghost color. Ooh, that polished chrome looks cool. Let's find polished chrome. Upload it to the face. And remember, if I get it to be that dotted shape, I can upload it to the whole thing at once. So awesome. Now we have a polished chrome ghost. Look how shiny he is. Fancy. You guys can go ahead and pick whatever color you want. Play with it a little bit. Really, the whole point of this is to just learn how to use these different tools. So now we need to save our work. Go to the eye, save as, sample part 2. Already exists. Let's go ahead and replace it. Can't save the same as a file that's already open, so let's close this and just do the disk. So if you try to do a save as over a part that you're working on, Inventor is going to get confused. You just need to use the disk and save it. Click on the eye, print your work. Make sure you print it to 4250. And you're finished with sample part 2. That was Inventor video tutorial number 4. Good job, guys.